The marker squeaked, then fell silent. Inside the glass-walled boardroom at aerospace headquarters in Lagos, a picture of a plane sat on the whiteboard under a storm of wrong answers. Lines crossing lines, arrows fighting arrows, numbers that didn't agree. At the front, the billionaire CEO, Johnson Uche, gripped the table with both hands. His eyes were wet, his voice shook. "We have 48 hours, he said. "If we fail again, we lose the contracts. We lose everything." The room of top engineers sat frozen. No one spoke. The air felt heavy, like a bad dream you couldn't wake up from. Then a voice came from the doorway. Low, steady, and completely out of place. "I can correct it." Every head turned. By the door stood a man in his early 40s with a tattered coat and dust on his shoes. His beard was tangled. His hair was rough. He held a tired brown bag close to his chest like treasure. The security guards were already moving. Johnson lifted his hand. "Wait!" The guards stopped. The stranger's eyes didn't shake. He looked at the failed drawing of the plane like it was an old friend that had lost its way. "I can correct it," he said again. The room held its breath. Hours earlier, before the city woke fully, Williams Andrew opened his eyes under the shadow of the Echo Bridge. Morning light slipped through the pillars. Danfoss groaned awake. A hawker called pure water, and the sound bounced through the empty spaces like a bell. William sat up on his piece of cardboard, dusted his coat, and hugged his brown bag. Inside, it were the only three things he had kept safe through everything. A worn book on aeronautical engineering, a bundle of old certificates, and a pen with half its ink. He pressed the book to his chest, the way a child holds a photo of home. He washed his face at the public tap, looked at his reflection in the ripples, and tried to smile. The smile didn't stay long. He walked toward Victoria Island with the early crowd. The silver letters on the side of the tall building always pulled his eyes. Aerospace. He had learned to pass by it slowly, the way a hungry person passes a bakery, half in pain, half in hope. Today felt different. People with badges rushed inside. Cameras blinked in the lobby. The building buzzed with worry. He slipped through the open door. Not sneaky, just small. The way you walk when you don't want to disturb the air. Near the top floor, through the glass, he saw the boardroom. He saw the whiteboard covered in wrong paths. He saw Johnson Uche rub his eyes and whisper to his team. 48 hours. The words hit something deep in Williams. He knew that number. He knew countdowns. He knew how a good team could get lost, one step at a time, and end up in a place where nothing made sense. He felt a push inside him. It was quiet, but strong. He tightened his hold on the brown bag and stepped forward. Back in the boardroom, Johnson studied the stranger. "What did you say?" "I can correct it," the man replied. "Let me try." Murmurs rolled around the table. "This is madness." A young engineer said, "What can he know that we don't?" Another whispered. But Johnson's eyes were tired in a way that made him brave. He slid the marker across the table. "If you waste our time," he said softly, "you waste my company. Don't waste it." The room opened into surprise. The stranger walked in. He smelled like dust and sun and old paper. He didn't explain. He didn't clear his throat. He just took the marker, faced the whiteboard, and stood still for 3 long seconds. Then he moved. He erased 2 angry arrows that fought each other across the wing. He drew one clean line, gentle as a river. He circled a tiny box labeled AOA and wrote beside it, "Sensor drift under vibration." He added 3 short equations, not too many, just enough to show a path. He wrote, "Feedback loop overreacts," and underlined it once. He drew a small smiley face near the tail, not to be funny, but to show where the plane wanted peace. "What are you saying?" someone asked. The stranger spoke in simple words. "When the plane feels many small shakes, this little sensor, He tapped the AOA box. Thinks the nose is too high. It panics. The autopilot pushes the nose down too fast. The pilots fight it. It becomes a tug-of-war. A few seconds of wrong numbers can turn into a fall. He drew a tiny filter like a sieve. We slow the panic with a filter so the sensor listens better. We teach the system to check 2 other helpers before it acts. This one here and this one here. He marked airspeed and vertical speed. If all 3 agree, act. If one is shouting alone, wait. He wrote 3 steps on the side. Filter the noise. Cross-check the helpers. Soft hands on the nose. Soft hands. It sounded strange and true at the same time. The room shifted from doubt to quiet attention. Chairs moved closer. Pens stopped tapping. Even the air conditioner hum seemed to listen. Johnson stepped forward. You? What is your name? The man did not turn. Williams, he said. My name is Williams. Where did you learn this? Johnson asked. Williams touched the pocket of his coat where the edge of the old book pressed against his ribs. From before, he said. From work. From mistakes. From watching the sky and listening when numbers got scared. One of the senior engineers stood. We tried a filter last week, she said, careful but curious. It helped on mild shakes, but during the stronger ones, the system still fought the pilots. Yes. Williams nodded. He drew one more sketch, a small box labeled Human Override with a time gate. Give the pilot the stronger voice early, not after a wrestling match, and let the system learn the pilot's calm after it sees it twice. The machine must not be proud. The line about pride made half the room smile in spite of themselves. Another engineer leaned in, his eyes sharp. What about false calm? Suppose all 3 helpers lie together. They won't, William said. Not rude, just sure. Not often. And when they might, we add a heartbeat checker. He tapped the top corner and wrote sanity check every 0. 3s. If the heartbeat looks strange, we tell the pilot first. We ask for hands, soft hands. Silence again. But it was a different kind of silence now. The kind that comes when a locked door gives way and everyone can feel the air on the other side. Johnson looked at his team. A few nodded small, like they didn't want to scare. The moment. Build a quick sim. Johnson said, use his steps. We run it now. Laptops opened. Fingers flew. The projector lit up with a digital sky. On the screen, a model plane sat at the end of a runway that looked like a gray ribbon under morning clouds. While they worked, Johnson moved closer to Williams. You said your name is Williams. Williams? What? Williams? Andrew, he said, still watching the board, still holding the marker. Up close, Johnson could see the man's eyes better. They were the kinds of eyes that had seen joy and fire and the long, dry space in between. Where do you stay? Johnson asked quietly. Williams's hand tightened on the marker. Under the bridge, he said, no shame in his voice, just truth. The engineers finished building the test. On the screen, the runway shimmered. Numbers waited at. The edges like small birds ready to fly. The senior engineer pressed her lips together. We'll run the roughest case, she said. The one that broke our last idea. Johnson nodded. Do it. A hush fell over the room. Even the guards at the door leaned in. 3. The engineer counted. 2. 1. The simulation started. The model plane rolled, lifted, and met the wind. The screen shook. Warnings flickered. The old system would have forced the nose into a fight here. Everyone in the room knew this beat too well. Williams did not blink. He whispered to the screen. Not as a magic spell, but the way a coach whispers to a player at the line. Soft hands on the screen. The new filter caught the wild shakes and smoothed them. The helpers cross-checked. The heartbeat ticked. Steady, 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 Johnson's. Fingers dug into the back of a chair. A number at the corner started to fall. Another held. Another rose. The room leaned forward as one. The plane's nose dipped, but only a little. The pilot's override flashed. The system yielded early like a proud person learning to listen. The graph that used to spike like a scream began to curve like a calm wave. "Come on," someone breathed. The final line at the bottom, the one that had spelled disaster all week, began to move toward green. It crawled. It paused. It twitched. The final result box on the right blinked from pending to, and the power in the building flickered. The projector cut to black. A chorus of gasps filled the room. Laptops beeped. Someone swore under their breath for 2 long heartbeats. Nothing existed. No sky, no numbers, no hope. Just the thin whine of the UPS fighting to stay alive. The lights blinked back. The projector woke up with a gray sigh. The result box was still there, frozen in the instant before truth. Johnson turned to Williams, eyes wide, voice barely a whisper. "Did we fix it?" Williams looked at the screen, then at the whiteboard with its soft lines and simple rules. He did not smile. He did not speak. The result box flickered. The result box on the projector flickered like a stubborn flame, refusing to die. The entire room leaned forward, every heartbeat syncing with the digital pulse on the screen. Then success flashed in bold green letters. The room erupted. Some gasped. Some clapped their hands to their mouths. Others shot to their feet in disbelief. The numbers that had dragged them into despair for weeks had finally turned in their favor. The red spikes that once screamed of chaos now curved smoothly, flowing like a calm river. Johnson froze. For a moment, he simply stared, unable to believe what he was seeing. Then, slowly, his lips parted, and a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding spilled out. "It worked," whispered one of the engineers. "It actually worked." Williams let the marker slip gently.